All right. Thank you everyone so much for coming to our first official programming event of the term and ever. And we're so lucky to have Mark Bernfeld here today to speak with us about mentorship. As you guys know, we are going to be creating our own mentorship program, and this talk was meant to serve as a resource to everyone. So we have a bit of a deeper understanding on what mentorship is and how to make the most of our program going forward. After the event, you guys will be sent two forms, one for some feedback for us, which would be really, really helpful if everyone can fill out. Like I said, this is our first programming event, so we really want honest, candid feedback. And the second form is going to be to create mentorship pairings. So for those of you who didn't come to our first meeting or are new to WIN, my name's Allie. I'm a 21 and I am the president and co-founder of Women in Innovation. And yeah, we're gonna jump right into it. Daria and I are going to give a quick intro to Mark, and then we'll do a short discussion with Mark, and then launch into some Q&A, and that'll be our first event. So Daria, if you want to take it away.
Sure. So just to give a short introduction of me, my name is Daria, and I'm the vice president and co-founder of WIN with Ali, and we are just so grateful and so excited to have Mark with us here today. To give an intro to Mark, Mark is an experienced entrepreneur and an angel investor with a commitment to environmentally and socially responsible businesses. He's also a professor of practice in the finance department at Northeastern University and a visiting scholar at Dartmouth College. He has taught Econ 25 for the past 3 years, which is actually where both Ali and I met him, and has emphasized the importance of women expressing themselves and building confidence in the business world. Mark also received an MBA from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania and a BS in mathematics at Dartmouth College. He currently leads Northeastern University's FinTech initiative and is faculty advisor to Northeastern's Impact Investing Initiative, Disrupt, and Huntington Angels. And again, we are so excited to have Mark with us today because, like Ali mentioned, he has been an amazing mentor to both Ali and I, and it has been absolutely the most rewarding experience being mentored by Mark, who has opened so many doors for us, and for me especially, the door to the entrepreneurship field, and has helped me navigate not only my career paths, but also my passions. So thank you so much, Mark, for being with us here today, and I'm really excited for the event.
Yeah, and then one last thing I want to mention before we jump into our discussion is just to reiterate, WIN was founded by women for women at Dartmouth, but we recognize the importance of learning from experts in the field, in this case in mentorship, and we're maintaining our commitment to creating a safe, supportive community for women to build confidence in the business world, but we also want to encourage diversity of thought and experience, including that of men. And in addition to the many years that Mark has spent as a mentor, he also serves as an advocate for women in the business world and an advocate of his female students like Daria and I. And he's a really important resource to our movement. So we will have throughout the term both male and female speakers and programming. And yeah, we're just encouraging a really open space for us to learn and support one another in navigating, creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So jumping right into it, our first question for you, Mark, is why are you passionate about mentorship? And can you tell us a bit about your early days mentoring and what interested you about becoming a mentor? So a lot packed in there.
Yeah, how much time do we have for that one? Thank you, folks. It's a pleasure to meet or see all of you. Can't tell you how honored I feel to be the first speaker for WIN. I'm delighted that you're forming this group. As an experienced entrepreneur, as an experienced investor, I can tell you firsthand that we do not have nearly the kind of gender diversity we need in this space. And that we desperately need smart, passionate, hardworking women to join us. And so I've encouraged women in this space. And as a mentor, I don't encourage anyone because everyone needs to follow their passion. But I encourage women to consider this space because it's fun and exciting. And I think it's actually a natural fit for women once they realize what's here. So um, thanks for forming this group, Ali and Daria. I'm really proud of all of you for being here tonight, and really excited for the potential you have. So it turns out that, I went to Dartmouth, I went to Wharton, I did management stuff. And as I did that, it turned out that the way I managed was by mentoring people, and I became a mentor through that process. And it wasn't something that was conscious to me, it just happened. And, I became a better mentor when I had more experience to do it. And I'll talk more about what it means to mentor and how that works a little later on. But my passion grew because it worked. And what I was able to do as a manager, as a business leader, was work with people who um, were great and were able to work at their potential and enjoyed it, by getting the best out of everyone. And by getting the best out of individuals who I worked with, they were having a better time, and it was really noticeable in results. And that's been kind of constant throughout my career. As we got to later in my career, I wound up teaching, and I kind of arrived at what I wanted to do in life. And it took me a very long time to get there, which is one of the reasons I like to mentor. So it doesn't take any of you as long as it took me. But one of the things I realized in that process was that my generation hasn't necessarily done a very good job. In fact, just look at our country today, of leading, and that we need a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do, and so I train students and I train startups to do better than we did. That's what I try to do. And so if I have a legacy, it's simply to help you be as good as you can be. And you, as the 20 of you here, or anyone else who I think has that kind of potential, because we really need it. So that's where my passion came from. That's where my interest came from. And I'm a pretty highly empathetic person, so it worked.
Definitely did work. um, so just to elaborate on that first question a little bit, could you talk about, your experience with people, maybe coming from different backgrounds, from different majors while you were at Dartmouth, how that's affected your mentorship style, and, whether you feel like there's importance in, coming from the same background or coming from, a similar department of thought, if you're thinking about majors. Yeah, if you could speak a little more to that.
Sure. So I'm a big believer in diversity. One, because it's the right thing to do, but more importantly, because it's the smart thing to do. And as someone who's been in business for a long time, what I see in business is often a lot of people who think the same way trying to make decisions. And in large companies, you can get away with it because large companies have a lot of resources and a lot of ability to make suboptimal decisions, which is one of the things that really frustrated me about being in large businesses. I went to entrepreneurship because in entrepreneurship, you don't have that luxury. If you don't make good decisions and make them fast, you die. It's that simple. Die might be an overstatement, but you're going to go away as a business if you don't make good decisions. And so the way you do that is through competition of thought, which means the best ideas win. And the best way to compete in thought is to have people from different perspectives. And that's diversity. That's what diversity is. And I'm not prescribing what diversity means, right? It can be anything. It can be racial, it can be gender, it can be sexual orientation, it can be anything. It can be where you're from, it can be anything. But when you get competition of ideas, you get better outcomes very consistently. And so I noticed this early in my life. I also, noticed, because when I entered the workplace, it was very highly male, that, early in my early days, it was much worse than it is today. I had a department back 40 years ago that was 2/3 female. And people used to be like, why, how did you do that? Why did you do that? And I'm like, because it's just much easier to hire great women than men, because nobody else wants them. And that's still true somewhat today, in that I think that men tend to underestimate the ability of women to perform in the working world. And I think one of the secrets I've had to success is that I don't do that. It's that simple. I think women have a really important role for lots of reasons. And I'm not going to try to stereotype women. There's lots of different ways that women can have an impact. But I think that's really important. That's part of what my mission has been. I'm not sure I answered your question, Allie, but I did ramble on for a while. Does that count?
It counts.
And I'm going to have to, well, in a minute, I'm going to introduce you to Shadow, because Shadow likes to
Oh,
participate.
great.
So she'll come when she's ready. That's my.
Sounds good.
Mark-
Daria, do you want to jump into the next one?
Yeah. So I guess over the couple of years or not even a couple, many years that you have been a mentor, I'm sure like you've developed some principles or core beliefs. Do you mind sharing any of your, personal principles of being a mentor, or any core beliefs that you stand by? Oh, and there's Shadow.
Shadow. She heard you. So she loves to join me on Zoom. So everyone say hi to Shadow. They kind of came with the territory, and I think they're important for all of you who want to be mentored or want to be mentors to think about. And the first I'll talk about is that as a mentor, you need to not want anything out of the process other than what's in the best interest of the mentee. You can't want money. You can't want fame. You can't want a certain outcome. You can't want praise. You can't want to be right. You can't want any of that stuff. As a mentee, you need mentors who don't want anything from you other than what's in your own best interest. That's harder to come by than I ever thought it would be. But it's really important. So when you're thinking about, is this mentor-mentee relationship working? That's one of the first things you want to ask. Does my mentor want something from me? Anything, whatever you think it could be. Shadow wants something from me. I'm not sure what that is, but it's more attention than I'm paying her, apparently. So the next one is something that I deal with, is one of my core principles, and that's just respect, which is that you need to respect whomever you're talking to, whenever you're talking to someone. I try to make this a core principle. It's something that's sorely lacking in America today. And it's really hard with the way some people are behaving to still be respectful, but certainly in a mentor-mentee relationship, respect is really critical. And so how do you always conduct yourself with respect to the mentor-mentee relationship? It's a constant challenge. It's really hard as a mentor because it can get personal sometimes. But that just makes respect all the more important. So the third is about listening. People feel valued when you listen to them. And so mentoring, a lot of mentoring is simply asking good questions and listening a lot. And Ali, Daria, I suspect you've heard me do that. It's easier to talk than it is to listen. And I have experiences to share, and I try to do those. But I don't want to prescribe. I said this again, right? I don't want to prescribe what's right for you. I want to listen and have you come to the answer as a mentee of what's right for you. And I may even at times have some ideas. And in that respect, my job, and Daria, you mentioned this earlier, is to open doors. And then your job is to decide if you want to walk through that door or not. And sometimes the answer is going to be yes. And sometimes it's not. And a lot of times that can take a long time. There can be lots of doors to open. And then the last principle I have is I think of mentorship as a one-to-many relationship where the mentee is the one and the mentor is the many. It's really good to get advice from lots of people. When I teach a class, I have 10 or 12 guest speakers because, it's because I don't want to have too much impact on my students. Seriously. I want to put options in front of them and then let them decide. And so as a mentee, you want to hear from different people. And I think I'm good at this, and I am sometimes, and sometimes better than others, but I don't want to be the only person that's important to that mentee. I want to be one of many. And so part of what I'll do there is introduce the mentee to others. Which is, Ali, have you seen this? Daria, have you seen this? Have I introduced you to other people? Ellie, could I say the same thing about you? Right. So
Yeah.
It's introducing you to other people so that you can get different perspectives that are different from mine.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that I think are important for a mentor. There's probably others, but those are that's the kind of code of conduct that I have. And Ali, in your earlier question, there's one thing I forgot to address, and that is kind of the value the mentee feels about themselves. You don't have to be a 3.9 student. You could be a 2.0 student or a 0.7 student. One of my friends got a 0.71 semester at Dartmouth, and he turned out great. He did a great job in life. And a lot of folks, especially women, tend to be critical of themselves and think that maybe they're not good enough in one way or another, or in many ways. And I tend to be the same way. It doesn't matter how good you are. Everyone's good at something. Everyone will get passionate about something. Everyone can be great at some occupation out in the future. I firmly believe, and I've seen this. And so the process is about finding what that means for you. And the good news is there's only two things to know. One is the world, and two is yourself. Those two things are equally hard. You learn a lot about the world in school and from friends and from experiences, and we don't learn very much about ourselves. And for me, that was particularly difficult. Sorry about Shadow. I'm not sure what she's doing back there, but learning about myself was really hard. I'm a guy. I grew up in a different generation, and that wasn't supposed to be important. And so it took me into my 40s for me to start asking questions about, was I happy? Was I doing what I needed to do? Should I do something different? And so part of the mentorship process is asking those questions much earlier. Sorry, I'm trying to get my cat to not kill herself. Come on, Shadow.
All good. That's important.
She's 15 years old, and I don't want her to hurt herself because she's very sweet.
Oh, she is very sweet.
Okay, she's safe again. So right, you'll learn about the world over time, and you can learn about the world from other people and from connections that your mentor can help you make. Learning about yourself is really hard. What makes you happy? what gets you engaged, what gets you excited, what are you good at? It can be overstated to say follow your passion, but it's still really important, in my opinion. And you will all be best at what you're passionate about. And so you'll also enjoy your life a lot more if you spend your days doing what you're passionate about. So if you can figure out what that is, if you totally follow your passion, if I were talking to a group of guys, I'd say we'd all want to be basketball players or something like that. I didn't want to be a soccer player, but I got cut from the Dartmouth team, so it wasn't going to happen. A long time ago. But it needs to be tempered with reality. It needs to be tempered with what you're good at. But finding that passion is so critical, and your mentor can help you do that. And Ali and Daria, are those things we've worked on? Can I? You don't have to say what those are, but are those things we've worked on?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. For sure. And that sort of goes into my next question, which is if you could talk a bit more about, the general importance of mentorship, so finding your passion, but if anything else comes to mind in that realm, and maybe some of the bigger issues or struggles that you've helped your mentees navigate.
So I think there's a lot of prescribed paths in the world. Which is, you go to Dartmouth, you get a good GPA, you go work in investment banking or consulting, you just kind of follow this path. That's cool. It's going to be good for some people. It's not going to be good for lots of other people. And that's not necessarily the path for success for everyone. And by the way, a lot of those fields are very masculine. I hate that about them. They make you behave like a bro in order to be good. They make you work 100 hours a week and drink a lot of alcohol. And, if you like that, fine. But if you don't, you shouldn't. That's not the pathway to success. That's just a mode of behavior. So the reason mentorship is good is it can help you find what your path should be. Because there are other people that have traveled that path. And mentorship helps you get to them. So if you have a good mentor and they help introduce you to other people, they can help you determine what that path is for you. And it's okay if that path is a traditional path, but it's also okay if it isn't. And that's where you need to wind up in this process. And by the way, I just want to be clear that's an ever-changing topic, excuse me. Big difference in that N in there. It is an ever-changing topic because as you age, your interests change. Everything changes about you. There's no way I was a good mentor when I was your age. I was a good friend, but I wasn't a good mentor. I didn't have enough experience. I didn't know enough about the world. And so this has evolved over time, and it will with you too. So, so you not only need to understand yourself, you need to understand the process by which you understand yourself, because that's going to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, would you be able to touch a little bit more on kind of what you learned as a mentor? And, in our mentorship program, we're going to be pairing upperclassmen with underclassmen, and hopefully we'll get some really great upperclassmen mentors, and kind of what you learned being a mentor, like an importance of also not only being a mentee, but also being a mentor for someone.
Yeah, I've learned, I never had a great mentor myself, which is weird. And so that's one of the reasons it took me way too long. I think Shadow's ready to leave me. It took me way too long to make some of the better decisions that I made in my life. I said early on that it's really important that your mentor not want anything from the relationship. When you free yourself from wanting something from that relationship, you get a tremendous amount. It's just that you don't prescribe what that is. So I have great friends. I learn a ton. I learn a ton from the people I work with. It forces me to think through a lot of things I might never have thought through otherwise. It helps me with empathy and compassion. I learn a lot about topics I never knew about because other people are smart and have interests that are very different from mine. It gives me great respect for other people. As an angel investor, many of my colleagues think that you should only invest in people who are experienced. I now don't know that's not true. And that it's not experience that is important. It's the ability to use experience to do better. And that experience doesn't have to be your own. If you're a good listener, if you're good at learning from others, if you're good at wanting to hear what other people have to say, young people can do amazing things at early ages. And that's freed me up in a lot of ways. And so I feel like mentoring is probably the most fun thing I do. But only because I don't ask for it to be. Right? I've been disappointed by some people I've mentored. Some of them haven't treated me nicely. Some of them, some relationships have been difficult. The vast majority have been great, but not in ways that I've tried to dictate. So I'm a lifelong learner. You might have noticed that. I want to learn all the time. I got into entrepreneurship in my 50s. I got into teaching 6 years ago, and I've learned how to be pretty good at it. If you keep on learning, mentorship is one of the absolute best ways to do it. And I can tell, some of the people on this call, obviously Ali and Daria, but Caroline, good to see you out there. Ellie, I'm learning from all of you.
Yeah, well, we're honored and grateful to be learning from you too. So on the topic of entrepreneurship, you've mentioned a bunch of times how important you think it is for women to engage in entrepreneurship, and how, one of your goals is to encourage more women to go into entrepreneurship. Could you talk a bit more about why you think that's so important, and maybe some of the qualities that you see in your women mentees that lead you to believe that entrepreneurship is a good fit?
Yes, I would love to do that. But first, can I ask a general question and maybe get a little participation here? Just
Absolutely.
of anyone,
Yeah.
of everyone. So what is it that worries you most about, in a few words, what is it that worries you most about thinking about a career in entrepreneurship?
Anyone can just unmute and
Please jump in.
contribute. Yeah.
It's really important.
I think for me, it's just the risk involved, and not that uncertainty is really exciting in some ways, but also very terrifying.
Great. The first word that comes to mind for me too, Caroline, probably because we've talked about it before. But yes, other thoughts? Failure, right? And failure it's related to risk, right? You don't want to fail.
Kind of on a similar track, not following. Oh, sorry, did I cut you off? I didn't mean to cut you
off. Not at
off.
all. Go ahead, Hannah.
Not following a traditional career path.
Yep.
What would be considered typically correct to do?
Correct. A lot of people will judge you on who your employer is. What else? Anything about the environment? Anything about the people in it?
The fact that it's all on you, kind of.
It is.
I guess I would add, women are not only harsh critics of themselves, but are the object of a lot of harsh criticism. So I'm sure for everyone here, and I can speak for myself, that I've always, maybe been a little hesitant or a little insecure when I explore a new idea, even when Daria and I first made Win, because you're not only feeling that criticism, but you're a very vulnerable place, pitching your idea and getting people excited, and it's hard to stand in front of a group of men, which is inevitably part of the entrepreneurial process, and feel really confident about yourself and your idea.
Adding of what Ali said is also a matter of age. Sometimes when you are starting a startup or starting an entrepreneurship, and you are young, like, and this is my case, I start on this when I was 13, and then when I was 18, I started pitching and pitching and sharing my startup, and most people were like, you are so young and you don't have enough experience to do this.
Yep.
And yeah, sometimes it's like a big challenge.
It is. These are great comments. Any others?
I think for me, kind of similar to what Ali said, is like not having the pressure of having that like $1 million idea. And like, I feel like sometimes in entrepreneurship, success is defined by how much like your company is valued at, or if you get like investors to invest in it and if you like succeed. But, I feel like it doesn't have to be all about the end return. And sometimes I feel that pressure of not having that $1 million idea to start with, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And it gets back to one of the questions I ask a lot as a mentor, which is, what do you want out of life? Because if what you want is for your parents or your friends or your peers, whatever, to think that you're highly accomplished, then maybe you need to go to investment banking. But not that many people actually have that as their number one criterion when you start to think about it. Because there's lots of other things that might be important goals. Any examples you can provide? What are some other important goals? Being accomplished is one, right? Being rich is probably one.
Making a positive impact in the world.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that comes from you, Ellie. That's something that's really important to me too. A really big one, right? What else?
And also being happy, because if you're not happy, like a lot of things lose their meanings.
Absolutely. The most ignored one of all, happiness, whatever that means. What else?
Transform communities.
Yeah, communities, excellent.
Staying true to yourself.
Staying true to yourself, understanding what that is and staying true to who you are.
Probably having a sense of fulfillment.
Fulfillment, yeah. Isn't it nice to come home at the end of the day and feel like you did well today? You did a good job today? I worked in an insurance company for 16 years. I got promoted a whole lot of times, managed a lot of people, made a bunch of money. And when I had my revelation in my early 40s, it was around the fact that if that insurance company totally went away tomorrow, the world would be unchanged. A lot of other insurance companies would just pick up that business. Most of the employees there would wind up working at one of those other companies. Nothing would change. And so I said to myself, is it really worth it? Plus, I was working for an asshole. And I didn't want to work for him anymore. So those two things, but that's what got me, that's what finally got me, excuse me, I shouldn't be talking that way. That's what finally got me thinking, I'm unhappy. Why is this? What do I do about it? And I gave them 5 weeks notice and I left. And it was the best decision I ever made. And it was scary as hell because I had 2 young kids and a mortgage, and I had a little bit of money in the bank, but I had an early stage company that I had formed and was working on. And I didn't want that to go down. And it was very scary. And I did take some risk. And so Caroline mentioned early on risk, and it's a really important part of all of this. And I don't want to tell you how much risk to take ever. And it depends on lots of things, how much you should take. If you come from no money at all and you're not sure where your next meal's coming from, you should not be taking a lot of monetary risk right now. You should be getting a job with a company that's going to give you security and a little bit in the bank account and maybe ability to help your parents and your relatives to do well, if that's what you want to do. If you come from a position where your parents could support you for a while or for a long time, there may be, it's up to you, no better time in your life than in your 20s to take a little bit of risk. What's the worst that can happen? You could fail. No one cares except you. And many failures aren't really failures anyway. You're going to make some bad decisions. If, no matter what you do in whatever profession you're in, you're going to make some bad decisions. I often tell mentees that the real definer of success is how well you pick yourself up after you've been knocked down. And you're all Dartmouth. I know you'll do that. I know you can do that. It's hard to have gotten where you've gotten. You're resilient, you're hardworking, you're smart. There's a lot of risk in entrepreneurship because over half the companies will fail. There's a lot of risk in entrepreneurship because, as Ali said, when you go pitch, if you do really well, maybe 10% of the investors will like you. If you do really well, maybe 10%. That's 90% failure rate. How many of you have a 90% failure rate in anything that you do? Right? If you get an A-, you're unhappy. Right? And now over and over and over again, it's reinforced to you that, no, I don't really like that idea by people who are pretty experienced and maybe should know, but really don't. Is the secret. Most people really don't know any better than you do. And so if you're passionate about something, you need to be able to endure through that. And it's a great lesson in resilience and in passion. So if there's something you believe in, maybe it's worthwhile. Maybe. It's up to you. I think that it's really important for women to be in entrepreneurship because A, over half customers are women. B, men on their own just don't do a very good job. Men do better when there's women in the room. Trust me on this one. Men behave better, men think better, men do better when they interact with women than they do with just guys. But it's not your job to make women better. It's your job to make you better. And I think oftentimes women have a different approach that actually works better in entrepreneurship. And so my experience in entrepreneurship has been, I've invested in a lot of female entrepreneurs. I've helped a lot of female entrepreneurs. Women tend to listen better. And it's been really productive for me throughout my experience. And, you're probably familiar with the statistics. Almost all investments go to male-run companies. Women get asked negative questions, men get asked positive questions, by which I mean men get asked, how will you make this work? Women will get asked, how will you be able to overcome this difficulty, this problem? There are lots of blockers for women in this space. But we've made some progress, and we need smart women in this space to fix that. And that's kind of what I try to do. That's why I'm so proud of Daria and Ali for starting WIN. And that's why I'm really excited for all of you being a part of this and being willing to help one another. By the way, women tend to be more collaborative and guys tend to be more competitive. I love competitiveness in entrepreneurship because you got to want to win. But you can be competitive and collaborative at the same time. You're competitive with them, you're collaborative with us. It's not that hard to figure out. I tend to be collaborative. You know, part of my business philosophy is find the best people and work with them. It's a simple formula. It's worked for me over and over and over again. But that means,
oh, sorry.
no, it just means being sensitive to who they are. And that's where the mentorship started. Sorry, Ali, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm trying to be mindful of our time, and I want to give everyone the opportunity to ask you some questions, Mark, directly. So I was just going to open it up for Q&A. If not, we've plenty more we'd love to discuss. But yeah, if anyone wants to just unmute and ask Mark a question, feel free.
Hey, can I start? Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for having me here, because I just literally get into college and I just found out WIN, and I fall in love with of what are you doing, girls, and thank you so much for starting this club. I have a question for you, Mark, like based on my experience. I start a business when I was 13 with my family. It calls Wawa Laptop. Wawa means child or children in Quechua, that it's the Peruvian native language. It's the first eco-friendly laptop made in Peru, and we provide these laptops for students around rural areas. So I have a question based on this. Like, as an entrepreneur, I think that an investor not only offers you money, this person is also offering advices based on this, based on his or her experience, and also supports you throughout the process to raise money and starting this business, or maybe I mean in the stage that you are, right? So what kind of pieces of advice as a mentor you can give to a woman social entrepreneur seeking for investment?
It all depends on, I want to get to know you first. I would ask you 45 minutes worth of questions.
Okay.
About your business and about what your personal objectives are for that business.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to point out a couple of things, Alejandra, because they're important for everyone to get. For most early stage investors, we are in fact doing three things. We're providing capital, we're providing advice, and we're providing contacts, other people. And so when I'm effective as an angel investor, it's when I'm doing all three of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And in so doing, and not all investors are this way, in so doing, I'm trying to ensure that you are in control of your company, but that you're making informed and intelligent decisions. So that you're surrounded by people that you listen to and that can help you overcome the lack of experience you have at age 18, but that you make the decisions about that. Right? So a lot of VCs, for example, will take board seats and try to control you. And a lot of investors will try to control your decision-making and push you to make the decisions they want you to make. And so it's important for you to make, and I talk to entrepreneurs about this all the time, to be in charge. But then it's really hard for the investor. Because now the investor is not in charge and they might have just handed you money and never see it again. So how do you convince your investors that you're good at listening, that you're good at meeting your own needs while meeting theirs. And that's especially hard when you're 18. And the way you do that is by having great advisors and by having those advisors be able to speak on your behalf. Say, Alejandra has been doing this. I tell her stuff and, 24 hours later, it's done. Or, I gave her a piece of advice and then she went off and did this and I thought it was amazing. So you can substantiate things like that. And that's really important as a young entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot you don't know yet. There's a lot I don't know yet. And I've been doing this for a long time. I'm learning all the time. I just learned, for example, the Peruvian word for child, didn't I?
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah, anyone feel free to just jump in and ask a question.
How many of you want to be mentors and how many of you want to be mentees? Or both? Mentors?
I would say both. I think I might have some marginal advice to give, but I'm learning a lot from you, Mark, every day.
Absolutely. And I think
everyone.
both is a great place to be.
Yeah, we got some action in the chat, a lot of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say are like some tips to, like, at least for me, like I've never been a mentor to anyone. Like, what would you say are some tips to being not like a good mentor, but what are some key elements of a great mentor-mentee relationship? I think you touched a little bit briefly, but maybe more concretely, and what are some like questions a mentor can ask their mentees, especially during the start of the relationship?
Great questions, Daria, and you're going to be a great mentor because you have a ton of empathy and you're going to ask a lot of great questions. So I already know that. So first off, it's all about listening. So let your mentee talk, ask them some questions. It doesn't even matter that much what those questions are. Good questions help. Broad question, wide open questions, unstructured questions, questions with no wrong answer help. You want to understand what your mentee is good at, how they feel about themselves, and what they want to accomplish with their lives. Most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about that stuff. So you might want to ask it a number of times. And their thinking will evolve as, they, after the first and second and third times they answer that question. With women, a lot of times I try to ask questions around self-confidence because the single biggest issue that I wind up working with women on is self-confidence. That's the most common issue. Guys tend to just kind of be guys and obliviously do stuff whether they're good or not. And women tend to think they need to be perfect before they do anything. And it's a pretty big discrepancy sometimes. So a lot of times I work with mentees on focusing on what they're good at and what they've accomplished. Women tend to underestimate or undervalue what they've accomplished and overvalue what they've not been able to accomplish. We're all human. We all do some things well and some things not well. Guys will tend to focus on what they've done and women will tend to focus on what they haven't. So I spend a lot of time with self-confidence and with trying to reiterate, I talked to you 6 months ago and this is where your head was at. And now it's here. Don't you realize how much you've accomplished in 6 months? And by the way, Daria, could we say that with you, right? Right? We've accomplished a lot. You've made progress. I've seen it, but you might tend to think about all the things you haven't done. So, and that will go for some of you and not others. But self-confidence is a big deal. And by the way, it still is for me, even at this old age I'm at. I still question myself all the time. And I have to talk to myself the same way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Those are really, really helpful. And yeah, just I think for anybody here who wants to be a mentor, such great, starter points and such valuable information. Yeah, if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to jump in.
Kind of on like a similar like train of thought to Daria. How would you mentor someone if you like feel like you don't really have very much to offer? I know that kind of sounds like a bit of a weird question, but like I think at least like for me, like I'm at the point where it's odd because I don't think I know anything. So it's weird that someone would be coming to me for advice. Yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, so Hannah, I know you a little bit now. We've gotten to know you a little bit, and come actually know a very talented young woman, and so maybe that.
Mark, you're breaking up a little bit. Joys of remote programming. Sorry, guys. Mark? You might be back.
Not sure. I'm not
All right.
sure.
What we could do, Allie, is if everybody goes into just video, like no longer have their video on, it might actually, when he comes back in, it might make it easier for his Wi-Fi issue.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Mark, is that good, or would you prefer we all turn our video off? Or
No, I think it's coming from me.
Yeah,
so.
but
okay.
But would it be helpful if we all had our videos off? Sometimes I discuss when I do programs, if everybody's video is off, then the speaker actually doesn't come in and out of Wi-Fi.
We can try it. Let's see.
But we would love to see you though.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I turned my video back on to see if that would help. I can't even remember where I was. Remember what I was talking about?
You were talking to actually, where is she? To Hannah. You were answering Hannah's question about how she didn't feel like she had any experience, but wants to be a mentor.
Yeah. So Hannah, and I didn't handle that very well. I don't know how much you heard, but I've met you. We've talked several times. You have a ton to offer. So by saying you're underestimated, I'm not sure. Folks, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So, but if you're worried about that anyway, it comes down to focusing on the mentee and not yourself. So ask questions, learn about that person, show empathy, show interest in who that person is and what they're doing. And that will help that person, show that respect. And that's a great way to start, in my opinion.
Thank you.
So we just have a couple minutes left. The first thing, if everyone could turn their video back on, so we could just get a quick picture for our social media of our first event. That would be awesome. So I'm gonna just take a screenshot. Okay, I'll give you a countdown and everyone can smile. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Great. Thanks, guys. So we only have 2 minutes left, and Mark seems to be having a little bit of Wi-Fi trouble. So maybe we'll just wrap up here. But I just wanted to say again, thank you so much to everyone that showed up. This is our first event, and we've taken a lot of pride in how many people we've reached so far and how much we've been able to do so far, but we want to keep getting better and doing more. So if you guys can look out on your emails for a form, it's very short, just a couple of questions that will help us improve programming throughout the year and into the future. That would be incredibly helpful. And we hope that this has given everyone a good basis to jumpstart the mentorship program. And that brings me to the second form that you'll be getting, which is the pairing form. And this is just meant to best match mentors and mentees. So if you have, a specific topic you want advice on, or a specific field you want advice on, it's just helpful for us to know that, so that maybe we can match you with someone that has experience there. So you will be getting that form as well in your inbox. And that's going to have a deadline of 1 week from today, just so we have enough time to make those pairings, so that we can have maybe a couple of mentorship meetings going into the future. So,
and also,
go ahead.
Yeah, our amazing mentor exec, which is Hannah, is actually planning all of this. So Hannah, if you want to introduce yourself and give a brief overview of the mentorship program, and you've been doing so much work on this behalf. So all props to Hannah.
Oh, well, thank you for saying such lovely stuff. But you guys have been amazing. But so the mentorship program, I don't know how else to sell it better than how Mark just sold it. I just hope you're as excited about it as I am. Like Ali mentioned, I'll be sending out a form in probably the next day or two, and please join us and get on board with this program. And Mark sold it absolutely perfectly there. I don't know how to sell it better than you did, Mark. So I really hope that you decide to take a couple of minutes to fill out the form and get involved. So we're hoping to get the program up and running by midterms. So
perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you guys again. And thank you so much to Mark for taking the time. It was an honor to have you as our first speaker. And you've given such great advice and really kickstarted this program for us. And I'm so excited for the future of WIN and the future of the mentorship program.
As am I. I want to say thank you to you all. First off, this is really an honor. I can't tell you how important WIN is to me. I really believe in the mission of what you're trying to accomplish. And it comes from lots of little things, not one big thing. And that's you working together, and the mentorship program is the foundation of that. I am happy to support you. I'm happy to be a male ally to all this. This is about you all coming together. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to talk to any of you individually. I have advice I can share. But this is about you working together, and I'm so excited for it. And I really thank you for getting engaged. This is a big step forward for Dartmouth. One more thing I do want to say. One of the great strengths of being at Dartmouth is our alumni network. We have tremendous alumni who love this college, and please take advantage of that, whether it's through me or through others. Connections at Dartmouth mean a lot. There's no school in the world that's better at this than we are. We've got great women on the Magnuson Center board, and guys too, who can help you. So thank you all. It's been a real honor, and good luck, and please stay in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And everyone look out for programming coming in the future from some more incredible alumni. And yeah, stay tuned for more from us. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great night.